Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. EFF leader Julius Malema has outlined a number of resolutions the party has taken. Now, these include a national shutdown planned for the 20th of March 2023, this year, to demand the return of electricity and the resignation of President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's also said that negotiations had collapsed with the IFP, meaning that the EFF will institute motions of no confidence in IFP mayors. The EFF has approved the plugging in of power ships to help alleviate the immediate power problem. Our reporter Govan Whittles joins me now with more. Govan, a very good afternoon to you. Numerous issues raised within this briefing, but of course the national shutdown and the time frame that has been set is something that you specifically asked the EFF leader Julius Malema to expand on when it comes to processes, because March is only just a month and a half away.
Indeed, and there are a few key takeaways from this press conference. Let's go through them now. The national shutdown, as you mentioned, among some of the expected announcements from the EFF, there were a number of calls from different sectors in society. A number of local leaders, provincial leaders of the EFF had indicated they'd been approached to try and organize a protest against load shedding. This was at the height of stage 6. The EFF has now outlined their plan on how they'll conduct that, and it's much bigger than could have been anticipated. The party is planning a national shutdown. This will be unlike any other shutdown because they intend to close all major roads and routes in and out of the country, stop all trains from moving, all trucks from moving, close all businesses and factories, as well as prevent anyone from going to work, close all schools and all universities. The party has over 1 million members, that's according to its president, Julius Malema, but undertaking such a national shutdown will certainly be a test of whether or not the EFF can actually achieve their goal of bringing the entire country to a standstill. And as of the announcement, it set them on a direct collision course with the country's law enforcement agencies. Asked what about the people who would want to go to work, the EFF president, Julius Malema, said that they're concerned with their own right to protest, which they believe which of course is a constitutional right, and one that they say they will exercise unashamedly, and that this protest will hope to achieve the resignation of the president. The EFF will lead a march, its national leaders, that's the president and all of the national leadership, to the union buildings where they will call for the president to resign. It's going to be one of the biggest protests against load shedding that we've seen thus far. We've witnessed the EFF's ability to mobilize people towards a shutdown before. Whether or not they'll be able to achieve the quote of stopping anything from moving from Messina to Cape Town is going to depend on their level of mobilization between now and the 20th of March. That's, of course, the big news from this press conference regarding load shedding and the electricity crisis. But what's also interesting is that the EFF is officially entering government now. They've decided to accept positions, overtures that have been coming at them from different parties in negotiations for coalitions in all municipalities across the country. This is interesting because that decision follows their decision to cut ties with the IFP. The EFF essentially had propped up the IFP in a number of municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. In Gauteng, they've always had the option of going into negotiations and asking for significant positions, influential positions. Now they plan to exercise that right or exercise their power and grab positions that are within reach in those negotiations. This is likely to lead to the EFF entering government in the city of Johannesburg, the city of Tshwane, as well as Ekurhuleni. In Ekurhuleni, we know now that a motion of no confidence in the speaker scheduled for tomorrow. The EFF said that it'll field a candidate there, hopes to get its candidate elected as speaker. But the EFF undoubtedly preparing the party to enter into government as far and wide as possible with the view of entering into government in 2024. They believe that the numbers right now indicate the ANC will lose power and a national coalition will be there for the making, and the EFF certainly wanting to be part of that process. Another interesting bit, they're taking the Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, to court. Well, they've asked their attorney, Victor Nkwashu, to negotiate with the NPA and try and force them to charge Gwede Mantashe over accepting security camera installations by Bosasa at his home while Secretary General. And they say that if the NPA refuses to charge Mr. Mantashe, they will pursue a private prosecution of the Mineral Resources Minister. That's something that they've been threatening for a while, and today they're announcing that they're following through. But of course there were a number of other issues which Julius Malema, the president of the EFF, addressed here. Let's just take a look at one of the inserts where the EFF is speaking about their intention to enter government and how that decision was made.
The EFF will, during the course of this year, be accepting leadership responsibilities of speakers, mayors, and members of mayoral committees in different municipalities. We want to demonstrate to the people of South Africa that we are a party that is capable to governing impactfully, ethically, and without any form of corruption.
Yeah, Govan, listening into that, of course, we know that as the conversation even deepened, we know that EFF leader Julius Malema spoke quite extensively about coalitions, the nature of coalitions, also making reference to the DA, working with the PA, and, of course, questioning some of those decisions.
They were quite critical of the Patriotic Alliance. Still no love lost between the EFF and the PA. Remember, Kenny Kunene, part of forming the EFF, is now an integral part of the PA. Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, having harsh words for the leadership of the PA, accusing them of essentially governing without integrity, and asking how the Democratic Alliance can be willing to negotiate with the PA and then turn around and say it's not willing to negotiate with the EFF, pointing towards a contradiction there. That's clearly going to be an interesting relationship going into these coalitions. An interesting comment from Mr. Malema is that they are not concerned with governing alongside the PA in an executive council, especially where they're not the ones who appoint PA MMCs. And saying it would actually be better that way because they get to keep a closer eye on them. Same goes for the ANC, according to Mr. Malema. Let's take a look at another interesting clip regarding the energy crisis. And here, the EFF is endorsing the plugging in of floating gas power stations. This is something that's been introduced in countries such as Germany in the middle of a power crisis. The Germans actually taking a decision and passing legislation to allow for the plugging in of these floating power stations while they were unable to access gas coming from Russia due to the invasion of Ukraine. And the EFF saying that that's a good idea for South Africa. It's something that we should be doing to relieve the energy shortfall in the short term. Let's take a look at what the EFF president had to say.
Okay, Govan, we're going to have to leave it there, of course, and bring that bite to our viewer a little later on. But, of course, Govan Whittles out in Marshalltown, Johannesburg, giving us a breakdown of the media briefing that took place with EFF leader Julius Malema a short while ago.